and he was killed in May 1915 during the Battle of Mousetrap Farm. Mousetrap Farm is a place that I used to visit on the tour, but it's a private farm and they don't want any more visitors. So that's it. And I'm just going to come to the relevant page here, and. So when his body was found in 1923, it was found at Railway Wood, which is 2 miles south of Mousetrap Farm, and he was identified by the stamp on a scrapper boot. And it was normal practice in the army for clothing to be marked with the service number and regiment of the soldier, and the boot bore the stamp 63224 RIR. So you see the number there, 6322.
Yeah.
Okay, so beside, close to him was Private Thomas Carty, 6566, who is the absolute opposite. He's far too old to be serving at the front. And Kevin Myers, my former colleague in the Irish Times, did some research on him. He was a poor Protestant from Clonmel. So
what age is that?
It's a 17.
40, you see
47.
47. It says 47. It's hard to see.
Yeah.
47 is a bit old, all right.
So anyway, John Condon, as you can tell from that brilliant song, has attracted a huge amount of attention over the last century because of his status as the youngest British war fatality of the First World War, and he's become something what I call an accidental icon. You heard the song that I played there. There's also plays written about him. There's poems written about him. There's a novel by a Flemish writer. He's far better known in Flanders, in the Dutch-speaking world, than he is in the English-speaking world, although he is getting better known here now. So about 10 years ago, a guy called Serku, who's from around here, wanted to write a book about John Condon and started to research his life, and he found out that nothing that we thought we knew about John Condon is true. He went to the census in Waterford City, and he found that John Condon was born in 1896, which in 1915 would have made him 18 years of age, which is too young to serve overseas. You're supposed to be 19 to serve overseas, but they turned a blind eye to all of this. I mean, the fact that he's 18, unfortunately, is not in any way remarkable. The fact that he was supposed to have been 14 is remarkable. So that is one half of this incredible story. The other half is that when he went to research where John Condon's body was found, his body was found 2 miles away from where he allegedly fell. So he fell at Mousetrap Farm, but his body was found 2 miles away. Now that is an eternity in distance. That would have meant he would have had to walk back to the German lines and have died there and be buried. So he went and he did a bit of digging, and he found in 2003 he discovered that there was somebody else who had the number 6322 RIR, who had actually died at Boisinga, is the name of the place, in 1915. And would you believe that that was another Irish soldier? His name was Rifleman Patrick Fitzsimmons. He was a Catholic from Belfast. So in essence, what we're seeing is here is this is John Condon wasn't 14, and he's not buried in this cemetery.
No way to find him.
Whereas,
Where is he
if
buried?
we had been in a position to see the new Menin Gate, Patrick Fitzsimons is mentioned on the new Menin Gate, whereas John Condon should be named on the new Menin Gate. Yes, the family of Patrick Fitzsimmons have the authority and the wherewithal to go to the Commonwealth War Graves Commission and have this gravestone changed from the name of Patrick Fitzsimmons to from John Condon to Patrick Fitzsimmons. They're not going to do that because it doesn't really matter that he wasn't 14. What matters is that he symbolises all the young men, teenage boys who went to war and who the recruitment officers simply turned a blind eye, and they died in their hundreds of thousands, 17, 18, 19 years of age. So John Condon has become this figure that is as I said to you, an accidental icon. But I actually think it makes the story far more interesting.
Yeah.
And the other thing is as well is that a lot of the tour companies, when young teenagers are do these tours of Flanders whatsoever, this is a must stop, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that there is all this research that's been going on for the last 20 years makes not a bit of difference. They're still going to come here.
Yeah.
Did he discover why you had two soldiers with the same number? And did that happen
That happened a lot. So 632 RIR could be the Royal Irish Regiment, which is what he was, but it's 6322 RIR is also the Royal Irish Rifles, which is a battalion based in the north.
Okay. So they were separate.
But there's some talk that he had a younger brother.
Yes.
That
So
he
the
took
family insist. The family begin to continue to insist that John Condon was 14. Even now, when I talk to Sonny Condon, who was his nephew, and he says, like, why would we want to lie about that? I mean, there was nothing in it for them, you know. And I said, well, if that's the case, how come John Condon was born is in the census in 1896 as having been born in, you know? And his theory, for what it's worth, is that in those days when children died very young, they often named the next child after them. So his theory is that yes, there was a John Condon, but this one was born later. So this one would have to have been born in 1900 or 1901. But again, in the 1901 and 1911 census, so it's just impossible. I mean, there's no way John Condon was 14. But there's another twist to this story, and again, it comes back to what I said to you about the fact that you think, well, it's 100 years on, all of these things have been decided by now, but in fact they haven't. They have actually discovered that the youngest soldier, Irish combatant to die in the First World War is actually a guy called Thomas Woodgate, who is buried in Grange Gorman Cemetery, and he was on the RMS Leinster in October 1918. The RMS Leinster was sunk off the coast of Dublin with over 400 deaths, including a lot of servicemen. He was a trainee mechanic with the Royal Air Force, and he had given his wrong age. He had said he'd been 18 and he was 14. So
I have his picture somewhere on my phone.
So if you see, the Commonwealth War Graves Commission changed his date of birth on a stone from 18 to 14, and he's officially the youngest Irish combatant of the First World War. Now, he's not the youngest British combatant to die. The youngest British combatant to die was 13. They would have been on some of the merchant navy vessels that had been that sank, right? Cabin boys, I think is what they were called. So they were 13, and the youngest British soldier officially is 15. But anyway, as the famous saying goes, the famous film director in Hollywood said, you know, when the legend when the legend becomes fact, print the legend. You know?
There's just one thing out. In these censuses at those times, people frequently miscalculated their age. Women tend to lower and men maybe a bit higher, you know. So you can't rely on the age stated on the census, you know.